Hi guys, welcome to another Divi Theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We've had a few questions lately about using custom CSS with Divi modules and what all the boxes do. So in this video, we're going to sort of demystify it for you, and it's really pretty simple. I'm going to use the little pseudo element before to create a little button that's going to change color when we hover over it right there. I'm going to use the after pseudo element to add a little label to our module. I'm going to use the image element to create an inverted effect, the title element to make this uppercase, the description element to color the background, and we're going to use the freeform CSS tab to add a bit of padding all around our description here. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. And let's work with a blurb module today. One of my favorite little modules here. Pop this over this side. Okay, there's a basic blurb module. If we look over in the advanced and down to the custom CSS here, we've got two tabs. We've got the freeform. I'll do a bit with the freeform in a minute. We're going to go over to module elements first though. So click on the module elements tab. Anybody that's interested in CSS, take a look at our simple CSS playlist. The link's down below there. Now in the module elements, we've got a before. That means you can add stuff before this element. It's great for notifications or little buttons or shapes or anything like that. We've done some of that in our simple CSS. We've got the main element. Anything you put in here is going to affect the whole thing. We've got an after. That's another pseudo element. And again, that's great for adding. Well, we're going to add a little label with ours, but you can add shapes and all kind of things with that. Again, plenty of that in our simple CSS playlist. Blurb image. Obviously, anything in there is going to affect our image. Blurb title, self-explanatory. Content, same thing right here. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is just chuck a little image in there. So let's add that image. I'm going to go back to content. I'm going to leave all the text just as it is. Second one down is image and icon. We'll pop an image in there. Let's put this other crazy car in. Great. Now the only other thing I'm going to do is pop this text in the middle. So if I go to my design tab, text, I'm going to throw it all in the middle. Great. Well, let's go over to our advanced and back to our custom CSS there. And we'll start at the top. What I did with this one on the left-hand side, I just created a little button that's going to change color when we hover over this with the before pseudo element. So rather than writing all this code again, I'll just use the code that I put in my first module there. So I'm going to copy that. I'm just going to paste it in there. And we've told it we want some content. It's got to be position absolute. It's going to be 10 pixels down from the top, minus 20 pixels from the left. And the width and height are both 10 pixels because to create a circle, we need a square. So it's going to create a square. We get a background color of red and a border radius of 50%, which will make it perfectly round like that. And you can create hover effects with all of these, same as you do with any other Divi modules. If you hover over the dark writing here, you'll see a little arrow icon. If you click on it, it's going to bring up two tabs, desktop and hover. If we click on the hover tab, we can change any of these when they hover over it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to change our background color, and you can see it's in here grayed out. So I'm going to just write background dash color, and I'm going to change it to light green. As you can see, that's changed that. It's going to change to light green only on hover. When I flip back to desktop, it's going to make it red again. And like I say, this first one, this before element, is great if you want to add shapes like triangles. We did a video on adding triangles to the bottom of your elements a couple of weeks ago. But let's move on down. We've got that covered there. Now the main element, it's going to affect our whole module here. For instance, if I give this a border, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's say border, B-O-R-D-E-R. I'm going to make a colon. I'm going to say 2 pixels wide. Wants to be solid. Well, I'm just going to make mine red in color. Keep it very simple. As you can see, that's put a 2 pixel border around everything, our main element here. And again, if we want to change that color on hover, so if we hover over the button, that will turn green. We'll get that border to do the same thing. I'll just copy this. You know exactly how to do that. Hit the little arrow. Hit the hover tab, change that to that same light green color. And of course you can use hex, RGBA colors, whatever you want to use. As you can see, that's turned that green. Fantastic. If we move down to our next one, let's just flip it back to desktop so it's red again. We've got our after pseudo element. And I used mine to make a little badge up here. Again, I'm not going to write that CSS again. So let's just paste that in there in the after. You see we've got a little badge up there. And all I did, told it I want some content in inverted commas. I told it what that content was going to be, sale. Or I say, you see it's added more to it up there. Position's got to be absolute. It wants to stay where we put it up there on the left-hand side. It's 10 pixels down from the top. It's 10 pixels across from the left. The color of the text is white, FFF, and the background's black, or 000. Like I say, you can use hex, RGBA, web colors. And we've given it a padding 5 pixels top and bottom, 10 pixels left and right. And the after pseudo element is a great place for putting badges and things like that, notifications over images. And again, we've got lots of that in our simple CSS playlist. Now the blurb image itself, funny enough, is going to work on the actual blurb image. So let's just for fun invert the colors on this. I'm going to use a bit of filter, CSS. So filter, colon. I'm going to use invert. So it'll change the colors at opposite scales. Initially, I don't want it to invert at all. So I'm just going to 0 in there, which should be the regular color. And again, if I copy this now, Control C, hit the little arrow, we can make that hover effect. And this will only affect it when we hover over the image, not when we hover over the whole element. I'll paste that back in there. I'm going to change that to 180, which will invert the colors to their opposites, as you can see here. Nice little effect right there. If I leave it like that, it's going to happen pretty much immediately. I want it to sort of be a little more graceful. So we'll give it a transition duration on the desktop side. So we need to put a little semicolon in there so we can add a new line. And we'll say transition, dash duration. And let's maybe make it 3/4 of a second, 0.75s. Perfect. That'll now take 3/4 of a second to invert when we hover over it. Perfect. I'm keeping these fairly simple today. Obviously, you can do exactly what you want, but these are just showing you that you can target these specific elements with these boxes here. Blurb title, well, I mean, that's the title. A lot of this stuff we can do without coding, but I'm just showing you what these boxes do. Let's say text transform, and let's make it uppercase. And of course, you can change the color. You can do all kinds of things here. As you can see, that's made that uppercase there. I'm going to leave that just like that. Blurb content itself, you'd think it was just this little bit here, but it's pretty much everything. For instance, if I give it a background color, you will see. Let's say background. And we'll make it a dark gray, same as our other one there, which is 222. As you can see, that's turned that background there a dark gray color. Fantastic. I need to really make that text so we can see it. We'll say color, white. And if we did the same thing for the title, it'll turn them white. But you can do this in the text, obviously, as well. There we go. Now, I'd like to have more padding around here, because, you know, it looks all squashed up at the bottom. You'd think you'd be able to put it in the content here. But if we actually add padding, put a semicolon, you have to put a semicolon in there. If you don't, it will not read the next line of code within these boxes here. So watch what happens if we add padding here. Say padding, I'll give it 20 pixels all around with one just entry here. It adds padding, but it's added it also to our image and everything there, which is okay, but that's not really what I want. I still want my image to touch both sides, no gap at the top. But I do want a bit of space around our description here, or even just the content that would do me. So let's just save our changes here. I'm going to take that padding away that we just entered there. And we'll use our little freeform CSS box to add the padding to this. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to save my changes and exit the Visual Builder. I'm using Google Chrome with the great inspector tools right now. So if I right click on a little description right here, hit inspect. Most browsers have this nowadays, but if your browser doesn't, Google Chrome is a free download. And if I just roll this up a little bit, we've got blurb description here. If I hover over that, you'll see it highlights just the description. Header's just going to do the header. Container's going to do all of it, is where we put the padding before. And blurb image is obviously the image itself. So what we want is the blurb description here, and there's no box for just the description. It's got all the content in there, which is this one here, as you saw, does everything. We just want the description. So I'm going to double left click on that ETPB blurb description here, which is a class thing, class. I'm going to copy it, Control C. Now let's go back into our builder. We can use the Freeform CSS tab to actually target that element. So we'll re-enable the visual builder. And if we go back into our module now, back over to the advanced, if we go to the custom CSS and look at the module elements, there is no box for that description there. It's got the one for the content, but like we saw, that does everything. We just want this right here, which is actually just the lowercase stuff here, not the title. So I'm going to add 20 pics just to this description right here. To do that, let's roll back up. And this time, we're going to use our Freeform CSS tab, and you can do much more complex CSS in here, and we do all kind of animations and things, plenty of that in our simple CSS playlist. But to add padding just specifically to this class, to select our whole blurb module here, I need the right selector, and then the class name that we just copied. All class names have to have a dot or a period in front of them, so we'll put a dot there, paste that class name we just copied. Now we can open and close some curly brackets, and we can do anything we want to this little lowercase description here. All I want to do is add perhaps 20 pixels padding. To do that, padding, 20 pixels. And that will give it 20 pixels all around, as you can see right there. Now, if you wanted perhaps none on the top, 20 either side and 30 on the bottom, you can do them individually by adding 4 entries here. And it goes like a clock or a compass, starting off at the top, then it does the right hand side, then it does the bottom, then it does the left. So at the top, well, let's just give it 10 pixels at the top. Then right hand side, we want 20 pixels. Bottom, I want 30 pixels. And the left, I want 20 pixels again. So you can add it however you want. And like I say, with this Freeform CSS box, you can do animations, you can target any element by just writing selector, which will select this particular module, and then targeting whatever element you want to adjust. And that's pretty much it, really. Of course, we can use code modules and things like that, but I just wanted to show you these boxes. That's what we've been having questions about recently, and also the little Freeform CSS tab. So let's save our changes here, make sure everything's going to work. Save draft or publish if you're ready. Let's exit the visual builder. And here we have it. There's our little blurb module, wonderful little element. We've got a dot right there. When we hover over it, it's going to change color, but also the border is going to change color too, as you can see there. We've got our little sail that we put in the after pseudo element. The dot was in the before. In our image element, we're going to invert it. When we hover over, it's going to take 0.75 of a second to invert like that. Our title, we just made uppercase in the title box. Our content, we just gave it a dark background there, as you saw. And then we used the Freeform tab just to add padding just around our little description right here. And CSS is a wonderful thing to learn. I'm not going to paste that code down below like I usually do, because really this is just a demonstration and you're going to want to do your own thing. But if you want some ideas, do look at our simple CSS playlist. There's plenty on there, and all the code is written down below for you to copy and paste if you want to. So there we go, guys. I hope that's demystified that a little bit as to what those little boxes do and how you can use them. Really useful, great things to have. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them down below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this one. So once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesigntaketips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.